Hey guys, CourageRunner55 here, and welcome back to Project Frivo. And on today's agenda, I finally get to present to you all of the brand new Fakemon that I've made to fit inside of this region. Now, unlike in Ascos where the Pokemon were grouped up in their explanations, this time I'm going to go in Pokédex order, as well as giving a little bit more description to the Fakemon than last time. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's start with the starters, your very first Pokemon partners that you'll encounter. The Fire-type starter, Sulpion, and its evolutions Scorindle and Sculpbaru. This little Scorpion is well known as a vermin around the Frivo region, and it has a fiery determination burning inside of it, wanting to challenge anyone that crosses its path to prove its strength, even if said person or Pokemon doesn't want to battle. However, Sulpion has become a starter Pokemon so that it can finally fuel its battling spirit in a healthy environment, under the watchful eye of a trainer. The Water-type starter, Gowai, and its evolutions Flurrycorn and Capriawa. This sea goat loves to swim around in the current and play with any Pokemon that it meets, which has led to it having some not-so-joyful encounters with Pokemon who aren't so open to playing with it. Once it evolves, it becomes blindingly loyal to its friends, and will defend them and its trainer with its life. And finally, the Grass-type starters, Floram, and its evolutions Forestool and Ariora. Floram is a very kind and forgiving Pokemon, and doesn't become angered easily by those who mess with it. However, as it evolves, it becomes not as carefree, as it decides to stand up for itself against attackers and fight them off, instead of just letting it happen. Now to introduce you to one of the original birds, Cellrobin. Cellrobin lives in the forest alongside its flock, and never separates from them until it evolves into the ice-flying type Robifrost and Winterin, where it comes of age and flies to colder climates. These Pokemon are very social, and it's rare to see them not in a group, and these groups can harbour up to 20 different members of its species. Next up, the original rodent of Frivo, the normal type Joysum. This Pokemon is never seen without a smile on its face, and it loves to entertain. And once it evolves and gains the ghost type, Gestossim, it becomes quite the trickster, as it uses its performances as a distraction for its heinous acts, such as if it wants to steal an item from unsuspecting people. But just know that it's all in good fun, as Gestossim will return the stolen item if asked politely. Kitsute and Tuxline, the stuck-up fairy-type cat Pokemon. These cats have very high standards, and turn up their nose at any Pokemon that they see as lower than them. These Pokemon like to imitate human behaviour as they look up to them for guidance a lot, so it is possible to train a Kitsute out of its self-absorbed attitude with the right trainer. But most of the time these Pokemon are seen around humans who encourage its behaviour. Poipuppy and Kanoizen, the poison-type dogs. These Pokemon love to play with people and get very excitable, but sadly they're usually avoided due to how their excitement makes them secrete poisonous fluid all over the person they're trying to play with. But this Pokemon would be the perfect partner for a trainer who doesn't mind getting covered in poisonous slobber from time to time. Now for the first regional variant I'm going to introduce, Frivosian, Aipom and Ambipom, who are now dark types. These Aipom have picked up on antisocial behaviour, and have become tricksters who love to mess with and bully other Pokemon. A lot of Frivosian Aipoms are seen hanging around delinquent gangs, and have an affinity for drawing graffiti on walls alongside their trainer. The next variant is Frivosian Kricketot and Kricketune, who have gained the Steel type. Due to humans' music interests changing, these musical bugs have adapted to play metal music. Literally, because they're Steel types now. Anyway, Frivosian Kricketune can make a multitude of sounds that mimic an electric guitar or violin, and its metal sound or screech attacks are even more painful to listen to. Back to the Fakemon for a bit, we have the regional bugs, the Bug Fairy, Wordjewel, Larbulb, and Glamantis. These Pokemon love shiny things, and are easily attracted to them, and then they will fashion their nests out of the objects it collects. Although this has led to very persistent Glamantis refusing to give back what it stole from unsuspecting humans, due to how it doesn't understand that stealing is wrong. But the right trainer would be able to give it all the shiny things it deserves, as well as teach it a few manners. Next up we have Flambat and Obsidiwing, fire flying types. These bats are able to light the way through dark caves for humans, and love to be of assistance to them. They're able to breathe fire to deter oncoming attackers, as well as to cook any berries it finds to enhance their taste. It's very gluttonous, and won't hesitate to go for your food if you present it with some, so it's advised to maybe not have a picnic near a nest of Flambats. Next, Kiwi Jog and Star Sprint, grass flying type Pokemon. These Pokemon mimic the native fruit of Frivo as a form of camouflage, as a Kiwi Jug looks nearly identical to an actual kiwi fruit when curled up into a ball. Due to this, people who can't tell the difference have learnt from their mistake, as Kiwi Jug has a vicious bite to prevent it from being eaten. And once it evolves into Star Sprint, it's able to run away from attackers at blindingly fast speeds. Turbrav and Psyquaver, Water and Water Ghost. Turbrav loves to sing songs and hum to itself, and is able to mimic music that is played for it, so a lot of trainers keep one on their team for moral support. However, if the Turbrav is exposed to the sound of its own voice for too long, it will evolve into Psyquaver, who is able to hypnotize prey into the ocean with its enchanting song, where it's able to drown them. Turbrav have reached a high popularity due to how it's usually used as a mascot for bands and music groups. Joltunny, Normal Electric, and Frivo's resident Pikachu clone. This energetic bunny's electricity is produced by its ears, which it uses in some of its attacks to strike the foe with an electric shock. But despite it being cute, I'd advise you don't hug it, as it really doesn't like being held by strangers and will most definitely zap you. Now back onto the regional variants, I'm going to present two at once, with Frivocian Zangoose and Frivocian Seviper, with Zangoose now having the Ghost type and Seviper now having the Dragon type. Both of these Pokemon were created by a science experiment, but in Zangoose's case, the experiment went horribly wrong, making its existence a paradox due to its normal Ghost typing, but is able to change form to become a pure Ghost type. Whereas Seviper's experiment was successful, gaining bright colours to warn other Pokemon of its poisonous nature. Strangely, these two Pokemon don't hate each other like regular Zangoose and Seviper. Instead, they seem to be in a truce against a common enemy, the ones who made them this way in the first place. Now back to the Fakemon, we have Cellrobin's northern sister, Norrobin. This bird differs a lot from her southern brother, as Norrobin prefers to work alone, as well as how they evolve into the steel flying type Robipass and Navibin. These Pokemon are experts at directions, and if asked, they can guide their trainers towards their destinations when lost, so these Pokemon are usually used in search and rescue teams. Navibin quickly moves from partner to partner, never staying with the same one for long, which has left the more group-orientated Winterin heartbroken from time to time. Zapole, Voltrog, and Dolphicity, water electric types. Zapole are born in shallow water, and they have both lungs and gills so they can traverse on land to find a place to settle down, where they then evolve into Voltrog. Voltrog then train themselves diligently, heading towards the sea, where they spend the rest of their lives as Dolphicity. This cycle is a popular subject which is taught in Frivo schools, to show how life always finds a way, and how Pokemon adapt to their surroundings very quickly. Another variant now with the Psychic Grass type Frivocian Yanma and Yanmega. These creatures live deep in Frivo's jungles, and use their psychic abilities to sense the location of oncoming attackers, before defending itself with powerful gusts of wind. Yanmega are usually surrounded by several Yanma, who protect their leader from any threats, as Yanmega itself doesn't fight very much, becoming a lot more relaxed. However, if a Yanmega is pressured into a fight, its power is sure to overwhelm anything that dares to disturb it. Chareagle, the rock-flying gargoyle Pokemon, which doesn't evolve. Chareagle itself is a very quiet and unmoving Pokemon, only opening its eyes to check for incoming attackers, and it's a benevolent king who looks out for its subjects. Many trainers use them as a role model for their misbehaving Pokemon. Chareagle is kind and forgiving, unless someone steals the crown from atop its head. Then it will go into a fury and will do anything to get it back from the thief. This behavior sounds oddly familiar. Oh well, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Next we have Kakanga and Buckjaroo, fighting and fighting ground. These kangaroos are born fighters and use their arms and legs to deliver powerful blows to its opponents. They love to undergo rigorous training to hone their skills, and become furious when interrupted, which has caused a lot of innocent bystanders a kick to the head. But with the right trainer, these Pokemon can sharpen their skills to their full potential. Now time for a familiar face, Philibub. As I mentioned previously in Project Ascos, Philibub originates from Frivo, and it can be encountered in the tall grass like any other Pokemon. This little fellow loves to explore new places, and its abilities to produce light are what made it rise to mythical status inside of the Ascos region. However, inside of Frivo, Philibub has a new evolution enabled by a piece of technology called the Cyber Disc, which allows it to evolve into Lightnabub. His evolved form has heightened abilities and strength, as well as serving as its trainer's sole protector, which makes it a great companion to any fledgling trainer. Next up we have Spard and Frizzorchid, Grass and Ice type. These Pokemon are born without the crystals on their back, and so whilst their parents use their ice powers to create them, seeds may get stuck inside the forming crystal, which has caused them to gain the grass type over the years. And as it evolves, it's able to fully tap into the powers the seed harbours as it begins to sprout, and it uses the roots to deliver power whips to any incoming attackers. Turtis and Torqueen, Bug Fairy. These tortoises are very generous and won't hesitate to lend a helping hand to Pokemon in need, acting rather motherly towards them. It isn't rare to see a Torqueen who has adopted a completely different Pokemon species into its family, as it loves to take care of babies who are abandoned by their parents. But if anything happens to endanger its children, you'll be faced with a vicious, unrelenting Pokemon until you back off. Truffsnout and Chocobore, Ground type. These Pokemon love sweet treats so much that they've adapted to become more like them. They use their own sweet scent to lure in prey before smothering them in a sticky chocolate-like substance. Chocobore chocolate is a popular treat inside of the Frivo region, and it tastes amazing when mixed with all creamy cream, and it's used in all sorts of sweet treats. Now back onto the regional variants, we have the regional Nightmare Fuel, Fravotion, Chinchou, and Lantern. Allegedly, there was an oil spill a few years ago, which ended up infecting the nearby population of Chinchou. However, instead of them perishing, they consumed the poisonous oil, turning them into dark types with a lust for eating trash. The good news is that the oceans have got a lot cleaner since then, but the bad news is that these corrupted fish have taken a liking to terrorizing other Pokemon, and ruling over the seas in fear, even daring to challenge Pokemon like Sharpedo, so they can fuel their unhealthy obsession with literal junk food. Next, some not so familiar faces, and the final regional variants, in Fravotion with Smoke and Insowitch. Yes, I gave my own Fakemon regional variants. Mr. Buddy did it, so I can too. The Fravotion forms of these Ascos-born Pokemon have learnt how to wield fire, and use their old incense sticks to aid in its new pyromancy abilities. These abilities have been honed and passed down from generation to generation, and sometimes Insowitch will bestow their knowledge upon other fire-type Pokemon. Back to the Fakemon, we have Phytuno, Zodua, and Plantre, water psychic types. These Pokemon start off quite simple-minded, only knowing their carnivorous instincts, and attack anything that gets in their range due to their eat-or-be-eaten attitude. But as they evolve, their brains become more complex, as they learn how to swim away from attackers with their nimble speed, and eventually developing their psychic powers to the maximum potential in their final evolution, where they're able to harness psychic powers through the pearl it carries, and it delivers powerful blows to their opponents. Blastiki and Blastek, fire ghost types. In Frivo's past, these Pokemon were usually decorated by humans to depict legendary Pokemon, and were worshipped during rituals. They were also used to keep the original setters of Frivo warm on stormy nights, and this translates to the modern day where some people still choose to use a Blastiki instead of a traditional fireplace. Although a Blastek usually comprises of 3 Blastiki, there has been a world record set for the highest amount of Blastiki stacked on top of one another, the current record being 64. P-Chrome, the unevolving fairy flying type. P-Chrome are rarely seen and are rumoured to only appear in front of those who are pure of heart. Unfortunately, P-Chrome's rarity is due to human intervention, as it used to be hunted down for its rainbow-coloured feathers by poachers, so the number of them has dwindled, leaving only the male population left. However, P-Chrome have become a protected species in the Frivo region, so any poachers are severely punished if they dare lay a finger on a P-Chrome. Wisspog and Spiritoad, ghost type. These frogs wear cloaks to conceal their identity, and are rumoured to have the ability to see spirits, and if its trust for its trainer is high enough, it will allow them to speak to said spirits. It's able to mimic human speech, although most of the time it comes out as a garbled mess, and it's also rumoured that these fellows might be related to the Zapple line, although there has barely been any studies surrounding this topic. Now, onto some new evolutions. Or should I say, evolutions? That's right! In Frivo, you can be introduced to Cybeon, the Steel-type evolution. Now, if you remember the Cyber Disc which allows Philibub to evolve, that same disc was originally used on Eevee as a test, giving Cybeon the same protective nature as Lightnabub would have in the future updates to the disc. Cybeon is a helpful assistant towards any trainer, and won't hesitate to point them in the right direction if they're in need of guidance. It can also project its thoughts onto any nearby devices. Anyway, onto the fossils of the region, starting with Kydrop and Plyglide, water flying types. In the Frivo region, a lot more time and effort was put into restoring fossils of the past, which has shown its results in how the fossil Pokemon here don't have the rock typing like other fossils. Anyway, Plyglide in the past loved to glide along the surface of the ocean, playing in the waves with others of its kind, and nowadays its revived self just enjoys splashing around in any kind of water. The other fossil you can pick from is the steel ground-type Philodon and Anchitread. These brutes were brought by Frivo's settlers to help build houses and tow the crop fields, and were very kind and protective towards their masters despite their intimidating appearance. And nowadays they still try to be helpful. Helpful being an interesting word choice, as they get so excited that they end up destroying more than they create. And finally, we have the pseudo-legendary of the region, the fairy flying Indmingo and Flamboyo, and the fairy fighting Flamfeather. These flamingos are very flamboyant and love to show off their skills to attract a mate. Then they participate in dancing routines with their mates, which has also been translated into their battle style, as they dance around the opponent, landing blindingly fast strikes when they're distracted by the routine. And that's all the Pokédex done and accounted for. Man, that was a mouthful. But I hope you enjoyed seeing and learning about all the new Fakemon that I've...
The video isn't over yet, Verbena.
What? What do you mean the video's not over? Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the story and characters section?
Aren't you forgetting something?
Huh? Like what? Oh my god, I forgot the legendaries! Okay, give me a second. Alright, there we go. Now we can pretend like that never happened.
You do realize you forgot to turn the camera off, right?
And finally, we have the pseudo-legendary of the region, the fairy flying Indmingo and Flamboyo, and the fairy fighting Flamfeather. These flamingos are very flamboyant and love to show off their skills to attract a mate. Then they participate in dancing routines with their mates, which has also been translated into their battle style, as they dance around the opponent, landing blindingly fast strikes when they're distracted by the routine. Hey, why did I suddenly get hit by a wave of deja vu? Weird. Anyway, onto the legendaries. Tohawal, the fairy-type founder Pokemon. A long time ago, when the settlers of Frivo first started on their journey, there was a terrible storm, and the crew members ended up stranded on a desert island. But when they thought that all hope was lost, Tohawal appeared before them, and led them towards safer shores, which later became known as the Frivo region. Tohawal has become only a legend in the present, but makes an annual visit before a worthy trainer every year. Once they're able to gather all 8 gym badges and the 4 medallions, they may get a chance to meet with this legendary Pokemon and receive their judgment. And then we have Tohawal's parallel, Veniliz, the electric dragon-type Vendetta Pokemon. In legend, Veniliz was a creature corrupted by greed, who wanted to rule the Frivo region alone before Tohawal and the settlers came into its territory. There was a fearsome battle between Veniliz and Tohawal, but in the end, Tohawal was able to win. Now Veniliz lays dormant somewhere, waiting for the day where it can get revenge on the ones who invaded its home. And that's all the Pokédex done and accounted for. Man, that was a mouthful. I hope you enjoyed seeing and learning about all the new Fakemon that I've created for the region, and I hope you're looking forward to seeing the world in which they inhabit inside of the story and character section, which the first part of the story of Frivo will be told in the next episode. So I'll see all of you next time. But seriously, why do I feel like I'm forgetting something? Like, I messed up a line somewhere. Oh well.